In this video, I'm going to show you how to build a super simple and flexible IT asset tracker using Airtable. If you're trying to keep track of laptops, monitors, and other company gear using a spreadsheet, and it's getting messy, say less. This asset tracker will give you a way to assign devices, monitor returns, and keep everything organized by role or status. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Will. I've been in tech for the past decade, and now I help teams build smarter internal tools through automation to simplify their operations, both through these videos and at setupdoc.com. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me directly at will@setupdoc.com or submit your requests at setupdoc.com. We'll be happy to help. Now, before we get started, I want to also let you know that we do have a free asset tracker that you can use at setupdoc.com. So make sure you check that out. I'll leave the link in the description below. All right, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so in your Airtable workspace, go ahead and select Start from Scratch and name your base something like IT Asset Tracker. I'm going to leave the color as is. And we're going to start with the most important piece, which is our people. So we're going to rename this table to employees. You can rename yours to contractors or users, however you like. So go ahead and click save. And let's delete all these fields that got created for us because we're not going to use them. You can just edit the fields and reuse them, but I'm just going to get rid of them. And I'm just going to leave the name field because we are going to use that one first. And we're going to make sure that this is a single line text and make sure you have name. This is going to store our users or employees first and last name. Next up is the email. So go ahead and select the plus sign to add another field and look for the email type and name this field as email. This is going to help later on when we want to filter by email or use it in automated messages or integrations like Slack or Gmail. So next thing, we're going to add a role. And this is going to be a linked record. And when you do, Airtable will prompt you to create a new table called roles, and we'll define that next. But for now, just know that it links each person to their role, okay? So we're going to create a new table because we don't have a roles table yet. And we're going to name this field as roles. And we're also going to give it a name for the new table that's going to be created. And let's go ahead and uncheck this, allow a link into multiple records, because one employee will only have one role. Okay, so we're going to click create field. After this, we're going to add a manager, which is also going to be a link record, but this one is going to link to the same employee table. This way we can build a reporting chain, like saying Will reports to Ed, and just make sure to limit it to one manager only, because you don't want your employee having multiple managers. So let's go ahead and select link to another record. Please select the table. So we're going to link it to the same table, which is employees. And we're going to name this manager and make sure that you uncheck allow multiple records and create field. And I'm not going to add any lookup fields right now, so I'm just going to skip this step. So one thing that's really important is that Airtable will create reverse fields that show who reports to each manager, and you can rename this to team, so it's easy to see your whole team, or you can just hide it if you're not using it. So I'm going to rename mine to team, and I'm going to leave this on because one manager can have multiple employees under them. So go ahead and click save. So the next one is going to be the start date. So we're going to pick the date field for this one. And for this one, it's important because this way you can track when each employee started. It's useful for onboarding timelines and tracking tenure. So we're going to name this field as start date and go ahead and click save. Now comes the status, and we're going to use a single field and add an option like onboarding, active, offboarding, and left. This will help you filter and automate different views based on where someone is in the employee lifecycle. So go ahead and add this field. So this is going to be a single select, and we're going to name this one status. We're going to add some options. So we're going to add onboarding and add another one for active, then offboarding, and another one for people who leave, so left. and we're going to create this field. So now we're going to add a location field. So let's go ahead and add a location field. And this is also going to be a single select. Name this location. And we're going to add values for remote, office, and hybrid. This way you can know where each employee is working from. So go ahead and create the field. Let's add one more. So finally, we're just going to include a notes field. This one, it's in case you want to track any employee details or probation notes or anything else you may want to track. So this is going to be a long text. We're going to name this field as notes. Go ahead and click create. Now that we have our employees table filled out, let's jump into the roles table and define what each role includes. Okay, so before we get started with the roles table, I want to go back to edit the role field in our employee table because it's not roles, it's actually just one role. We're going to disable allow linking to multiple records because we just want the employee to have one role. Okay, so click save. All right, this is just telling you that it will impact one dependency in the roles table. I'll show you next and confirm changes. So let's go ahead and click that. And now we're ready to continue with our roles table. So go ahead and click the role table. And here is we're going to rename this table roles, not role. So go ahead and click save. Okay, so in our roles table, we're going to start by renaming the default field to role name. So we're going to edit this field and we're going to change this to role name. And we're going to leave it as single line of text. So go ahead and click save. This employees field is what got generated when we created the field in our employees table. And what this does is going to give you all the employees that are assigned to that specific role. This way you don't have to go back to the employees table and look for each one, but you can see it in the roles table at once and you don't have to switch back and forth. Okay, so next we're going to start by adding default devices for each role. So for this one, we're going to use a multi-select option. We're going to name this as default devices, and let's start some options like MacBook, monitor, dock. So let's say at setup dock we give everyone a MacBook or a Windows laptop, depending on the role, and dock, a monitor, let's say mouse and keyboard, and a headset. Depending on your stack and your devices, you can go ahead and add more here. Eventually, when you get bigger, right, you can always create a separate table for this. For now, we're small, so we're going to keep it within the roles table, okay? So we're going to create this field. Next, we're going to add the default applications for each role. So this is also going to be a multi-select option. We're going to add things like Slack, Notion, GitHub, different applications that your company has that are specifically for each role. We're going to add here. So let's rename this field to default apps. And let's add some options. So let's add Slack, Notion, GitHub. So that's all we're gonna add for now, just for this example. So go ahead and click create field. Lastly, let's add a notes field, and we're going to choose long text for this one. And let's type notes for the title of the field and then create field. And you can use this one for tips, access instruction, or any special requirements that don't fit elsewhere, okay? Now, one thing that I want to mention that I already mentioned here briefly is that some of the data that we're putting in the same table, like apps, as your apps grow, you eventually can use a separate table to manage distinct data types. This way you can track relationships, organize records, and reuse value across your workflows. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so next we're going to build our asset table to track all our company gear. So go ahead and click on the plus and let's create a table from scratch. Let's rename this table to assets. Click save, and the table is going to get created for you. And just like the other one, let's get rid of this other fields that got created because we don't want them. We're going to create our own. All right, and let's just leave the primary key there. So this table is going to help us keep track of all our laptops, monitors, and company gear that we have. So let's go through each field step by step. All right, so the first one is going to be an asset name. So we're going to edit this field to asset name. And this is going to be the single line text, right? So go ahead and click save. In here, you can put anything like MacBook Pro 13, Dell 27-inch monitor, etc. Next is the serial number, and we're going to keep this as a text field. This way you can paste any unique IDs from your hardware in here. So let's name this to serial number. Click create field. Then we're going to add an asset tag, and we're going to choose an auto number for this field type. So Airtable can generate a unique identifier for each record each time we add one, okay? So let's go ahead and look for auto number and name this asset tag. Go ahead and create the field. Now let's add a type. We're going to use a single select for this one to create options like laptop, monitor, keyboard. So let's go ahead and create it. So it's going to be a single select, and we're going to name this as type, and we're going to add some options. So let's add a laptop, monitor, keyboard, mouse, dock. Actually, this one, let's keep it separate. Let's not put it together. Yep. Okay, so let's go ahead and do create field. Now we're going to add an OS field or operating system. This would be a single select as well, and we're going to add options like Mac OS, Windows, Linux, even Chrome OS. You can add whatever OS you're using at your company. So go ahead and select this one. Is going to be a single select. Let's name this field OS, and let's add some options. So let's add Mac OS, let's add Windows, Linux, and Chrome OS. Create field. Now we're going to define the condition of the equipment. So this is also going to be a single select. And in here you can put values like new, good, fair, or damage to track just wear and tear of your equipment. So let's name this to condition. And let's add some options. So let's add new, good, fair, retired, or damaged. And let's go ahead and create the field. Now we're going to add a purchase date, and for this one we're going to use a date field to track when the item was bought. This is pretty handy when you have warranties or to track asset age. So let's go ahead and add that. So there's going to be a date field, and let's name this to purchase date. Create the field. Then we'll add an assign to. This is going to be a link to our employees table, and we're going to limit it just one person per device. So go ahead and select link record, and we're going to choose the employees table and go ahead and uncheck allow linking to multiple records, and we're going to name this assign to and create the field. And we're not going to add any lookup fields either. Let's add a date that the equipment was assigned. This is going to be a simple date field of when the device was issued. So let's go date field and date assign. Go ahead and create field. Now let's add a due date, and we can use this for leases, loaners, where the gear has a deadline to be returned. So let's add date here and return due date. Create field. Now we're going to add a check option, and this is going to just track whether the equipment was returned or not. Let's do return. That's going to be a checkbox. Feed type, and then we're going to name that as returned, yes or no. And finally, we're going to add a notes field just like we did for the previous tables. And this is going to be a long text just in case you want to put any notes like missing charger, screen cracked, or loaner, something like that. So there's going to be a long text, and let's do notes, create field. Okay, so now that we have our employees table, our roles table, and our asset table, we're ready to add some data. So this is it for part one. You now got a clean, flexible IT asset tracker built from scratch using Airtable. You got your employees table, roles, and devices all connected, and we're ready to add some views and automations in the next 2 videos coming up. If you would like any help getting this implemented for your business, just email me directly at will@setupdoc.com or head over to setupdoc.com and submit your request. We would love to support your team. Once again, I appreciate you for watching. Go ahead and like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.